full committee for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by just quickly pushing back on a comment that my friend Mr. McCall made at the very beginning of this hearing when he suggested that Trump's deal with Taliban was conditions-based and that President Trump would never have withdrawn our troops, which I think is a pretty shameless form of revisionism. The conditions in that deal, as I think all of us here know, were pretty much limited to the Taliban not shooting at our troops as we left, alongside fairly vague and unenforceable promises not to help al-Qaeda strike the U.S. homeland from Afghan soil. And I think we all know, it's been widely reported that former President Trump was itching to withdraw and tried to withdraw. Even in the final days of his administration, there would have been no evacuation of Afghan allies. There would have been absolutely none of the effort that this administration made, as inadequate as it was. And so in light of that and many other things, though I've been very critical of the Biden administration in many respects, I do sympathize with the dilemma that President Biden faced inheriting that terrible deal. And I sympathize with the frustration I think he felt with the arguments that were most commonly made for staying in Afghanistan longer. It seems, from my experience, those arguments over 3 administrations made by the Pentagon, by former diplomats like myself, generally amounted to, Mr. President, give us 1 more year, give us 1 more division, and we'll turn the corner. And I think President Biden was appropriately cynical of those kinds of arguments. The far better argument, I think, would have been essentially the argument that Ambassador Crocker made today, that what we lacked was patience. What we needed was a recognition that just because we couldn't fix everything that was wrong with Afghanistan didn't mean that we had to sacrifice everything that was right. And that this was a problem that could have been managed over many years. As unsatisfying as that argument would have been, I think it would have been the right argument and the better argument. And I wonder, Mr. Crocker, you served multiple administrations. Was that argument ever really made to any sitting president in a forceful way, that we should just stay because that's what our interest demanded?
Are you able to hear me? I'm having some audio
Yes.
problems. Yes. To my direct knowledge, when President Obama asked me to go to Afghanistan in a discussion before I left for Kabul, he told me what he wanted me to do. 2 things: 1, tactical, repair the relationship with President Karzai, because I had known him right from the beginning, and 2nd, to negotiate a long-term strategic with Afghanistan that the president himself could come out to Kabul and sign. And he did so in May of 2012. The clear impression I got from him at the beginning, while we were doing these negotiations, and when he came out to sign, was that the president was looking at this long term. That subsumed in the instruction on the agreement was the notion that we would be around, whatever form might be considered necessary by the governments, indefinitely. So I came away from that and from my time in Afghanistan feeling that we really did have a solid conditions-based approach that was then with respect to the security service forces in Afghanistan, that was then endorsed by the NATO summit in Chicago in May of 2012, just 10 days after the agreement was signed, in which NATO committed itself to sustaining a force of roughly 225,000 Afghan troops in the out years. So
Right.
that
I'm
would be a
running out of
relevant
time.
case, I think, here of an ability to think long term.
Yep. Well, I guess, again, failure of patience. And I think, I wish we had subjected our withdrawal to what I think should be always the test of any decision in American foreign policy. And that is, does it make us better off or worse off? I can think of about 12, 15, 20 ways in which the withdrawal and collapse of the government and victory of the Taliban has made us worse off. I can't actually think concretely of a single way in which it's made us better off. Our troops are still in the region conducting the same missions. They're not coming home. We've lost a counterterrorism partner. Perhaps the only benefit to the United States is that we're gaining tens of thousands of new Americans, Afghans who will be great Americans, but that is such a loss to their country and certainly not anything we would have wished. Thank you so much. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired.